4 articles I wrote as to what is Indian economy. Not what the economists tell you, what not the Economic Times tells you, not what the financial dailies tell you, not what the finance ministers tell you, not what your universities teach you. There is a huge economic infrastructure which is operating in India, which is beyond the purview, beyond the scope, beyond the radar of all people concerned with economics in India. In fact, Mr. Modi asked me to make the presentation before a set of people, in which Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman was also there. There were many IAS officers, economists, some ministers. When I made this presentation, shell shock. At least one or two of them could appreciate what I was saying. Then they asked me, what is the answer? I said, these people who are producing 128 million employment, most of them self-employed, are borrowing at the rate of 60%, 90%, 120%, 360%. 1% interest every day. In Kotwal Chavadi, in what is that place now? Coimbatore. 1% every day. And if you can give them at 20%, 25%, you can see the value addition. You can see the number of people they will employ. You will see how they expand. You will see how they build the infrastructure. So the Prime Minister directed that a separate financial architecture be created for these non-farming enterprises, and this formed as para 102 of the last budget of Mr. Jaitley such a serious, huge, far-reaching program. No newspaper highlighted it. You know, they don't know about it. Marginal rate of taxation for middle class cut. That is the headline in the Hindu, Indian Express. Some reduction here, you will get 500 rupees benefit. That is headlines. Whether interest rate would be cut or not, this is a huge discourse. You know the interest rate cut. He is an economist. They will all say if the interest rate is cut, the country will progress. Only a person who doesn't understand India will advance this argument. I am going to make good this to you. Why interest rate could be cut to America, a cut in America to zero? It is because in America nobody saves for himself. Nobody needs to save for himself. If he is aged, he is taken care of by the government. If he is infirm, he is taken care of by the government. If somebody is unemployed, he or she is taken care of by the government. For higher education, loans are provided by the government. So they made savings irrelevant. It is not that the government made it irrelevant, the society too made it irrelevant, because the parents were not taking care of the children, children were not taking care of the father, there is no relationship. 51% of the American families do not have the father and the mother living together, or there is no father at all. So there is no family responsibility which constitutes the propensity to save. Savings became irrelevant. And so, if interest rates are cut, savings is not going to fall. If interest rates are cut, expenditure will increase. Consumption will increase. Imports will increase. America will print a dollar and pay for the imports. This is a new economics. You know, for the last 36 years, from 1976, except 3 years, America ran trade deficits of $10 trillion. $10 trillion. If any other country had run trade deficits like that, its currency would have gone bankrupt. But American dollar rose by 3 times in value in this period. You know why? American dollar itself became a commodity which you and me began storing, and India has invested $250 billion in American securities. China has invested $3 trillion. Japan has invested $1 trillion. So America prints dollars, imports goods, exports dollars, others stock the dollars, invest it back in America. Will that economics ever work for any other currency, any other country? Is there one question the economists raised this, or anybody has asked the economists this? In 1997, the Federal Reserve System brought out an announcement that Milton Friedman's theory of monetary theory, we said unless you control money supply, unless you control inflation, you cannot have employment, you cannot have economic growth. America was running an inflation of 23%, American interest rates were 22%. And so he curbed the money supply. For the first time, money supply in America became negative in the year 1993. In 1 year, he brought the inflation down to 2%. He was given Nobel Award. American economy was put on the growth path. In 1997, America declared Milton Friedman's theory is no more applicable. You know why? American dollar became deterritorialized. It was no more a national currency. So you print currency and export, it doesn't inflate your country. This is a new economics which has developed. The foreign investment that you get is the money printed in another country without savings backing it, without production backing it, without GDP backing it. So unless you understand the contrasting situation in the society, in the economic model, in the policies that are being framed, you can never understand what India is, where its strength lies, and how it can develop. It requires an inquiring mind. It first requires an open mind. We should first regard as myth what is being talked about in the economic discourse of India, what is being told by the media, what the experts describe as the economic model of India. You know, I said that we have begun looking at another country whose model is not capable of being transplanted in India. Every country has faced this problem. It is not only India which is facing this problem. Japan faced this problem once. In the year 1991, when Japanese economy was supposed to be having the potential to overtake the American economy, Lester Thurow, he wrote a book, Head to Head, in which he says by late 1990s or early 2000, Japanese economy will overtake American economy. This is what he wrote in 1980s. Japan was going at this speed. In 1991, Japanese economy crashed, and I won't go into why it crashed because that's a subject by itself. And for the next 10 years, it did not grow. It is called the lost decade of Japan. 10 years, an economy did not grow at all. Huge unemployment. So the Americans began advising the Japanese. Not only Americans, many economists, think tanks, IMF, World Bank, they began advising Japan. Unless you cut down the interest rate, your people are saving unnecessarily. If they save, they don't spend. If they don't spend, there will be no sales. If there is no sales, there will be no production. If there is no production, there will be no employment. So you must make your people spend. Unless you make your people spend, your economy cannot be kicked up. Not only your people must spend, your government must also spend. You run fiscal deficit. Spend, put up roads, put up flyovers, put up seaports, airports, create infrastructure. This was the advice given to Japan. Japan was flabbergasted as to how a fast rising economy suddenly became almost dead, a suspended animation. So Japan began cutting down the interest rates. They cut down the interest rates from 6 to 5%. The Japanese people did not spend. 5 to 4, they didn't spend. 4 to 3, they didn't spend. 3 to 2, they didn't spend. 2 to 1, they didn't spend. In 2000, the government said, hereafter we will not give you any interest on short-term deposits of less than 1%. Even then, they didn't spend. Then in 2001, the government said, if we have to give you, if we have to get your short-term deposit and keep it with us, you have to pay money to us to keep your deposit. The people gave money and asked them to keep the deposit. You know what is the interest rate on a 5-year bank deposit in Japan today? Can anyone guess? 0.8%. The Japanese still save. Because it is a family-oriented economy. A family-oriented economy has a very different responsibilities to fulfill. A very different approach to money. There is a restraint on one's wants coming from cultural reasons, social reasons, filial reasons. Cite one example in economic theories about all this. An individualist economy functions on a very different scale. All the Anglo-Saxon economies are individualist economies. Individualist economies produce huge stock markets. 55% of the American families are hooked to stock market. It is the case with England, it is the case with Australia, it is the case with New Zealand, it is the case with Canada, but it is not the case with Germany. In Germany, only 7% of people own stocks. Only 7%. Only 11% of Japanese savings are invested in stock market. You know how much of Indian savings is invested in stock market? 1%. Your stock market is like your IPL playground, where you have a playground, invite the foreigners to play and you watch. And stock market tops 28,000. Nothing to do with India. It is completely divorced from Indian stocks. Mr. Nagappan said that illiterates love gold. Villagers. Because when we say villagers, when I was in village till my 15th year, I was also regarded as illiterate. But I could understand India only because I was born in a village. Anyone who is born in a town and who speaks English has an impediment about understanding India. I can tell you this because of my empirical knowledge about India. And I speak my mind whether the audience likes it or not. You have come here and so you have to see how frank I am about how I view people who speak for India. Speak for India to Indians, speak about India to the world, and speak about the world to us. This is only the English educated people. We conducted a survey in Coimbatore. The survey was conducted by the PSG Institute of Financial Management. And we went to women teachers, women professors who teach finance and economics in 72 colleges in and around Coimbatore. And we asked them about their savings habits. And I will tell you what is the figure. Their first preference is bank deposit. Second preference is house or real estate. Third preference is gold. Who are they? Professors of economics. Fourth preference is chit funds. Out of 170 professors we did research with, only 7 of them said, if there is some money to play with, we put it in the stock market. So we asked them a final question. You teach in the classroom that don't waste your money on gold, don't waste your money on bank deposits, don't waste your money savings on real estate. Put your money in stock market. When you teach others this, why don't you follow it? Sir, that is something to be taught in class. This is the difference between economics in theory and economics in practice. So something very peculiar, there is a relationship between gold and India, Indian economy, Indian culture, Indian women, Indian families. An economist cannot say the society should behave like this, then my economics will be a success. Society will behave like this and then you have to form the economic policy. America did it.